Well, hello and welcome back. So, here's how it works. You get on at 7:30, you do the 30 minutes and you realize you had no sound. And so this is going to be a do-over of the 30-minute presentation I just did. But if you're looking for the one that I did earlier, scrap it because hey, I mean that's what happens with technology. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. We've been out without internet here in the state of Georgia in my little city for about 2 hours. So something kind of just jumbled, and that's okay. That's my honesty. That's my vulnerability right here with you live on restream and on Facebook Live. So we're going to do this again. This time, I'm going to make sure that you can hear me, you can see me as I do this presentation. And so, hello, Notre Dame family. Hello, prospective students. Hello, family and friends who are just joining in just to listen and find out a little bit more about my alma mater, the University of Notre Dame. I am pleased to represent the university on behalf of the Black alumni of Notre Dame, and our mission is to increase the presence of Black students, faculty, staff, and graduates at the university. So I'm so glad that you are joining me again. This is a redo, but this is a redo with actual audio. So thank you for sticking with me and doing this over. So I'm going to wing this one and see what happens. All right, so here we go. The first thing I want to do is share this fabulous video. I always do that because gives a really great recap of what the university is, and it has great messaging. So join me in listening to this video.
What makes a place special? Is it the buildings? The people? The memories you make there? Or is it something more? What is college? Is it 4 years of school? Or is it the start of a journey that lasts forever? Is it lessons in a classroom? Or lessons in life? At Notre Dame, it's all of that and more. You will ask yourself the big questions. What is a good life? Why must faith and science coexist? What kind of person do I want to be? What legacy will I leave? You will spend time studying and investigating, only to realize that what you're learning is less about the job you will have and far more about the person you will be. At Notre Dame, your journey is about knowledge and faith. You will learn humility and gain confidence as you seek to better yourself and the world around you. In the classroom, your professors will inspire you. In your residence hall, you'll find a family who will walk through each step of your Notre Dame journey with you, and who will be there for you long after your paths diverge. And by the end of your first semester, you will know that your residence hall is the best dorm on campus. You will laugh, you will cry, you will come together in community. You will cheer for Notre Dame and for your friends. Because when you join the Notre Dame family, you become part of something that is bigger than yourself. You'll find competition on the sports fields, but compassion and caring from your roommate and professors. The traditions that are so ingrained in Notre Dame's culture will become second nature to you. You'll stay off the grass on God Quad and avoid the front steps of main building. You'll hug your peers at Mass when it's time for the sign of peace, and you'll know to rub Rockney's nose and Soren's foot as you pass their statues. Your perseverance, your grit, your big questions, and your relentless pursuit of the truth will lead you to heights you can't even imagine. The spirit on campus is palpable, whether you're kneeling at the grotto or preparing for a home game. The alumni will envy you as they return to the hallowed halls you walk each day, and you'll be inspired by their dedication and impact since their time at Notre Dame, knowing that the same steps await you as you join them as alumni. You may not know where your passions lie yet, but you'll find them here. We won't ask you to pick one thing that you love. We'll encourage you to do all the things that you love. You can be anything and everything you want to be at Notre Dame. When you find the sun setting on your college career, you will realize that your Notre Dame journey wasn't about where you were going, but about who you are becoming. So know Notre Dame is not buildings, 4 years of school, or lessons in a classroom. It is a journey, enriched by the people who travel with you and the memories you make with them as you prepare to change the world. Your home under the dome awaits. Welcome to the Notre Dame family. Go Irish.
Love that video. Okay, we are going to do this again, but this time with some sound. So thanks again for sticking with me and going on this journey of learning a little bit more about the University of Notre Dame. So a little bit about me, right? So my name is Kendra Washington Bass. I graduated from the university in 1994 with a degree in communication, a concentration on film and television. And as a representative and a graduate of the University of Notre Dame, I am representing the Black alumni of Notre Dame as a director of student recruitment. So let me just frame this. I am a volunteer. I do not work for the University of Notre Dame, but there are a number of alumni who are supporting the recruitment efforts, student relations, alumni work, and just all things Notre Dame to help students have a community of people who they can share the experience with and continue to support others at the University of Notre Dame. So I'm so glad to be here. I'm glad that you're joining me again. Sorry about what happened earlier today, but it is what it is. I mean, that's the technology and that's the world we live in. So if you're ready to go on this journey with me, please do so. I can't wait to share a little bit more about the university, but also about my experiences on campus. So here we go. Let's get into it. So why Notre Dame? I mean, that is like the big question. And just in essence, Notre Dame is a premier institution. It's a private Catholic institution, but one of the most important things to note about the University of Notre Dame is the return on investment. 98% of students continue to remain on campus and graduate. So as a parent and a mom of two students who are college going, that is an incredible investment because not only do they stay on campus and graduate, they become gainfully employed, right? So either they're employed, they go to postgraduate work, or they are in the military, right? So students do really well at the university. They stay on campus, they matriculate into their studies, and then at the conclusion, the benefits outweigh, some of the challenges of being a college student. We'll talk a little bit about that. I think what has made Notre Dame successful in its retention of students and its high graduation rate is the fact that not only are students able to matriculate into specific colleges that really meet their passions for their careers, but they're in classrooms with small number of students and they're learning from premier university professors who are experts in their field. So it's not unusual to go into a classroom and see 20 students, 30 students, or maybe up to 50 students. But as you matriculate through and you're really in your major, you really have an opportunity to work hand in hand with a professor. In fact, lots of students engage in research with their professors, writing research, doing research, getting the hands-on experiences needed to become career ready. So Notre Dame does a fantastic job of building that academic acumen of the students. And then I think secondary to that is that Notre Dame, you have the ability to do many of this practice across the globe, right? So Notre Dame has an enormously successful study abroad program. There are over 20 some odd programs within all across the globe. I think there's 26 that you can, as a student, participate in, learn in Italy, learn in France, learn in Germany, learn in parts of the continent of Africa. There are in South America, there are so many places where you can learn. And for the students of this particular generation, borders and walls will not hold them, right? This is you're preparing to be a global citizen. And so Notre Dame, because of its excellent programming and the opportunity to do that, you will have a great return on investment. I went to Notre Dame coming from New York City. That's where I was born and raised, from the South Bronx. to Notre Dame. One, because I wanted to get out of New York City. So most of your students or your kids are going to say, I just want to leave this place to experience something different. And that's what I did. And then two, just to be able to build a new community. No, I knew Notre Dame had a great reputation for academics, and that it had a great reputation for having people graduate and go on to do great things. And I wanted to be part of that cohort and part of that legacy that Notre Dame leaves. So let's talk a little bit about what campus life is like, the community of Notre Dame. So there are three things I'm going to talk about: housing, student clubs and organizations, and spirituality. So sort of the tenets of what it's like to be on campus. Now, things have changed since I was there 20 some odd years ago, and some things haven't changed. One of the things that hasn't changed is housing, right? So Notre Dame does not participate in traditional Greek life, right? All of the community that you build happens within your dorm. So there's an equal number of female and equal number of male dorms. They're not co-ed. That's where you build your community. I was in Walsh Hall, which is in the oldest portion of campus. And it's an all-female dorm. In fact, it became female dorm in 1972 when Notre Dame welcomed its first female and women to campus. This year, we celebrate 50 years of women on campus, on Women Under the Dome. So this is a very important year for women at the university. So you are required to live on campus in your freshman, sophomore, and junior year. You can opt to go live off campus. But one thing to note that most students, so 80% of the kids beyond junior year, stay on campus. Why? That's where you get your community. That's where you meet people from across the globe. That's where you build new friendships. Those friendships will turn into long-term friendships. Those friendships will turn into career networking opportunities. That's what happened to me. My great roommate, Megan, from freshman year, we still talk to this day. We don't live in the same state, but we still communicate. My little sister, Rochelle, lives right here in the state of Georgia, so we still see each other about once a month. You create that community, and even across dorms, right? So as a Walsh Hall, we had a brother dorm, and that's when you would have those opportunities to engage in conversations, activities that really brought the community together. And that leads me to student clubs and organizations. So in addition to building the community within your dorm with the people you sort of live with and you see every day, you also can find your identity and connect with people who you feel you identify with. So I was part of two specific affinity clubs on campus that really helped me just understand that I was different, but also that I was the same. I was part of the gospel choir. I was part of one of the African-American clubs, just to be able to find additional community. There are over 600 clubs on campus, academic, social clubs and organizations. Actually, that's a lot. But that also means that there's a need, and it also means that you can find the club or organization that best fits your needs and your desires. So there's going to be great opportunity for you to be able to connect and find that. Now, let me put my mom hat on and then student hat on. As a parent, it was really important for me as my children were going off to college to know that they were going to be okay. They were going to be safe, right? And so having the opportunity for them to build their community and home away from home was critically important. As a student on campus, being 12 to 13 hours away from home, it was important that I felt safe. It was important that I build community. And so housing, that housing life, the student clubs and organizations were important for me. And then the third thing is spirituality. So yes, Notre Dame, University of Notre Dame is a Catholic institution. And while people are attracted to Notre Dame because it's a Catholic institution, it doesn't necessarily mean you have to be Catholic in order to attend the university. But people are drawn to the university because there is a spiritual and moral imperative embedded in the vision and mission of the university. It is to do good. It is to, be good for the common person. And so there are chapels in every dorm. So if you wish to go to Mass, there's Mass every day at the dorm. There's the Sacred Heart Basilica, which is one of the most beautiful churches in America. I mean, if you go in, you can look up and see the beautiful frescoes that are painted like the Sistine Chapel. There's actually a portrait of the Black Madonna at Sacred Heart Basilica on campus at the University of Notre Dame. So just absolutely a stunning basilica, and there's mass there during the week and on Sundays. But there are also a number of different religious organizations in which you can participate. If you are Jewish, there's a Jewish organization where you can practice your faith. If you are Hindu, if you are a Buddhist, there are multiple ways in which you can get full. And if you're an atheist, there's ways for you to still belong on campus. And so, don't let some of these sort of non-traditional ways of campus life deter you. I think that's what makes Notre Dame so unique. And I think that sense of community is why there's a 98% retention rate and a 98% graduation rate. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about who is actually on campus. Who are the students that come? So as you can see, there's a pretty good split between male and female. A lot of that has to do with the dorms. There's a pretty even split between the two. But over the next course of a few years, you're going to start to see much more of a trend of our female applicants really applying to University of Notre Dame. This year, we had 32.7% of students of color who are in our freshman year class. 16.7 are international students, and then about around 17% international students, and then 18, close to 19% are first generation students, meaning they're first in their families to go to college. So I think that really gives you a good profile of where Notre Dame is trending and how the institution over time is changing. But also, in addition to just racial, gender, or first gen identity, what else do these students do, right? One, they heavily participate in community service, meaning they are service oriented and service minded. They also participate in a series of extracurricular activities like music or dance or the arts or sports, right? Captains of varsity teams. So if you are playing sports and you are also doing some service projects, if you are also engaged in the arts, you have a pretty busy schedule. But it also means that you are really balancing academics with things that attend to your well-being or things that attend to the common good. And that's the type of student Notre Dame is really attracted to. And those are the types of students that are attracted to Notre Dame. And you can also see some of the academic profile of students, right? They were either heads of or major heads of major student bodies on campus. They had high SAT scores and ACT scores. By the way, those are going to be waived this year. You can still do them and you can still submit them, but they're not going to be the deciding factor in applications this year. So what else about the university? Well, let's look at the first class and their profile in terms of where they're interested in learning and matriculating. And I want to pay attention specifically to the pie chart, right? So we have 5 major colleges on campuses, or majors that students can matriculate in. We have the College of Architecture, which is our smallest, but it's a 5-year program. And within that, what makes it unique and why it's 5 years is 1 year is spent in Rome, Italy, learning side by side, really sort of the classic architecture modeling. So that's why there's a 5-year program there. The other 4 is the College of Business, the Mendoza College of Business, it's the Science College, it's College of Arts, Humanities, and Social Sciences, and then there's the Engineering College. And as you can see, what it looks like for those students who are in their first year. So these are the students who are currently sitting at the University of Notre Dame in their freshman year, pretty evenly split, again, with the exception of architecture. But the College of Arts and Humanities, that's the largest one, and the Mendoza College of Business is one of the most premier business colleges in the United States, running neck and neck with Wharton School at Penn. So again, the opportunity that students can go into these particular colleges. But here's what's also unique about Notre Dame. Whenever I talk to students, they are not just sitting in the College of Engineering. They are it's like cross-pollination. right? They are in engineering, in science, and in business. They have multiple minors. And that's the one thing that Notre Dame does offer, is not only just being able to be in your college and really attend to those specific required courses, but there's the opportunity to pick up minors or concentrations in other areas in order to really expand your studies and expand the opportunities you have for careers. And as we know, going forward, and the pandemic has taught us that you really have to be nimble and flexible and adaptable on a dime. And if students are only focused on one aspect of their work, that's fine, but it might not lead to flexibility. So it is not uncommon to have students have a primary major and multiple concentrations. I think that's unique. I think that also makes them ready for the world that is constantly changing. Okay, so now let's talk about the nitty gritty. Like, how do you become a student at the University of Notre Dame? Well, the first thing you have to do is apply. So we have two specific deadlines. The first one has already passed. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that, and then what to be ready for if you are applying and still considering for the January 1st. So November 1st was restrictive early action, already gone. So those students who for sure knew that Notre Dame is going to be their choice, fantastic. Now the application is in the hand of all of the reviewers and admissions, and they are reading over your essays. They're reading over your transcripts. They're reading over your letters of recommendation, and they're using that to really understand who you are as a student. Now, you will receive notification about acceptance or non-acceptance for restrictive early action by mid-December. Typically, it's right before the Christmas break. And so then you'll get 3 responses. One is a yes, you're accepted, way to go, just confirm, pay the $500, come join us at the University of Notre Dame. 2, you can get a deferment, meaning they have some information, but they're really curious and want to know more. So you might have been requested to submit updated transcripts with your first semester grades, or maybe even additional responses or essays or recommendations. Not sure, but each person will have something different. So you get a deferment, and then it will go into the January 1st decision, and then you'll wait to hear in March. And then the last one will be a no. Okay, so those are the 3 options you'll receive. If you have yet to apply, great, this is for you. You still have some time to get your application looking real good. Massaging that, having those conversations, having people take a look at your application before you press the submit. And that's not just for Notre Dame, that's for anything. So the decision for Notre Dame is January 1st. Okay. My recommendation is don't wait till January 1st, but also you don't have to submit it tomorrow, right? Take some time to really look at the application. Now, let me share with you how Notre Dame makes its decision. Okay. And also a little bit of statistics. 26,500 students applied for freshman spots last year for the University of Notre Dame. 26,000. First of all, I can't even imagine that volume of applications coming through on a computer. Okay. Of those 26,000, 3,400 or some odd were admitted, and about 2,050 are actually on campus right now as freshmen. Okay. So what does Notre Dame do to take that large sum of applicants and sort of whittle it down to the students that they believe are the best fit for Notre Dame's vision and mission and goals? So it's a combination of academic and non-academic review, which is not unlike some other universities, but they consider a broad range of factors, experiences, attributes, your academic transcripts, your metrics, but they balance the quantitative and the qualitative. So it's a holistic review of the application, which requires a little bit of art and science and reviewing an applicant, right? So they take time to know the applicant as a person first. Then they look to see, well, does the numbers tell the story? Do the numbers sort of add up to the way that this student is showing up on the application? So what does that look like? So let's start first on the academic side, because most of us are familiar, right? So over the 4 years that you've been in high school, Have you shown that you have challenged yourself? Are some of the courses you're taking getting rigorous as you matriculate through your high school years? I'll give you an example of my son. If you just looked at his first semester grades, it's when he gets warmed up. But you get into second semester, his habits are already in tune. He's taking a grasp of the content really well. His second semester, it always blows it out of the water. So he has a story to tell about the way that he sort of cycles through school. We also look at GPA and classroom performance, right? So that matters, but they're not necessarily weighted. And each state and each district has their own way of doing that. So they're not looking at the weighted, they're looking at sort of raw piece. And they're not looking at rankings. So that doesn't necessarily matter. So really, what are you taking? How rigorous have those classes been? And are you challenging yourself? Because Notre Dame is challenging. But here's the other part to it. This is the part that I think is very unique. And that is, even though you're taking some of those challenging courses and maybe you're stimulating your intellect, what are you doing with it? Are you just simply hitting the books and not sharing that knowledge? Notre Dame is looking for how you are taking what you're learning and using it. With that said, we really look at activities, right? I'm saying we, but I'm speaking right now on behalf of the Black alumni, but they're looking at activities, right? What are you doing in school and home, in your community? And those activities can be small, but yet impactful. For example, are you working, right? That's important to know that you are contributing to your household or getting some really good work ethic skill and skills to be able to be successful in the world of work, right? Or have you created something within your community? Are you participating in service projects? Did you create an app to help students with learning loss? Have you been a tutor? Have you done counseling, summer counseling? Maybe you are reading to students in the lower grades. So look at really all the things you're doing, and nothing is too small. You might think it's small, but is it impactful? Has it made a difference in the lives of just one person? Notre Dame wants not only to have that resume of what you did, but you get the opportunity to give voice to it. With that said, when you apply, you're either going to use a Common App, you're going to use QuestBridge and other applications. So they're Common App and QuestBridge for sure. And usually those have their own essays. But Notre Dame has two required essays. One is a required essay and one is an essay where you pick an option. And I'm going to show you what the essays look like because they're open source. They also need letters of recommendation, one from a core content teacher and one from your counselor. Now, let me just say something here. What your teacher and your counselor says should sort of match or really lift up the type of person you are. So when they're looking at that holistic view of you as a non-academic student, they're really being able to amplify the things that you are putting to paper in your essays about the type of person you are. So here are the essays. Again, no secret here. Here's the required essay. Notre Dame is a Catholic university founded by the members of Congregation of Holy Cross. In fact, it was founded in 1894. With a mission to educate the hearts and minds of students. What excites you about attending Notre Dame? So if you're applying, why Notre Dame, basically? And then you get an opportunity to choose one of these four down here. So people in the Notre Dame community come from many different places and backgrounds and walks of life. How is where you're from part of who you are? So that's one question you can answer. If that calls to you, answer that question. You can answer about telling about a time when you advocated for something you believed in. If you are passionate about something, advocated for it, did something about it, that could be your question. If you were given unlimited resources, boy, do I wish I won that $2 billion the other day. Wasn't me. To help solve one problem in your community, what would it be and how would you accomplish it? So if that's something that you've been kind of thinking about because you see a problem and if you had those resources, you can do something about it, that's your question. And then what's the greatest compliment you've ever been given and why was it meaningful for you? So again, You have the required question, and then you have an opportunity to tell your story and really amplify who you are. So that's part of the application process. All of that has to be completed by January 1st. Now, we have a number of different breaks depending on what type of school you attend. You have the Thanksgiving week off, or what they call fall, winter / break. And then there's one in December to start the new year. So you want to make sure your teacher and your counselor has time. You want to make sure you give yourself time, because you're probably going through midterms and finals, and you want to be able to have a clear head to ensure that you're completing this. Okay. So last thing before we kind of close out, and that is, how do you afford the University of Notre Dame? So I'll just tell you a quick story about me, and that is, my mom said to my brother and I, look, you're going to be fantastic in what you do. Set your sights high. I'll figure it out. And then she was like, oh, shoot, when she saw the bill. But my brother and I both went to institutions that were quite pricey, and Notre Dame provided some aid. And yes, she had to take some loans. She still talks about it today, but it was the best return on investment. That was my story, but that might not be yours. So how does Notre Dame sort of package your financial aid? First, I'm not going to tell you all the different details. It's not for me to know, and it's not my area of expertise. What I do know is Notre Dame costs about $81,000 a year. Sticker shock, fall to the floor, get back up. All right, so it's expensive, right? 2, Notre Dame will package something for you based on your needs, based on what is available. And so they will give you a package. And from there, you will make the decision. Now, here's my recommendation. I recommend, if you're really considering Notre Dame, apply, because you might get scholarships, you might get work aid. I had work study, so I worked on campus that helped to supplement the tuition, actually the room and board. And so that was a great help. So you want to make sure that at least you have the opportunity to see what that financial aid package will look like. Secondary to that is contact the financial aid office. In the chat, I put in a booklet about financial aid. There you can find the information to look a little bit more about what that could look like. But again, please don't let it deter you. You have to get there in order to make the determination of whether it'll be good for you or not. And then finally, I will just say, on behalf of the Black Alumni of Notre Dame, we have our own scholarship fund. It's called the Fraser Thompson Scholarship. It was named after the first Black graduate of the University of Notre Dame, Fraser Thompson, in 1947. And a number of Black alumni continue to contribute to this scholarship fund to support Black students and make education affordable. We award 2 merit scholarships to Black applicants who are accepted to the university. And we also award additional scholarships for those students on campus, so that you can really be able to support 4 years of college on campus. And it's a sizable amount of aid. So I say, please go forward, apply to university, contact financial aid. The other thing too is, you probably have scholarships and funds that are right in the palm of your hands within your own school districts, or your archdiocese, or your charter networks. You probably have something within the current community, like local banks that your parents may belong to, or even some charitable organizations that are willing to provide you with some fund. Anything counts. I'll just say that my son did some book reading back in elementary school, and we cashed that sucker in. When he graduated, it was $200, but it was a little scholarship that he won. So every little bit counts, and don't count out other opportunities and other sources of scholarship or grant money that could be available to you. Okay, so with that said, Notre Dame can be for you. And I just wanted to uplift 7 Notre Dame alum who've had an impact on the arts and literature and politics and sports and entertainment. First, Condoleezza Rice, former Secretary of State. Arike Mbombole, who was our national champion And a Rookie of the Year for the Dallas Wings. You have Michael and Christine Swanson. This is the producer director duo, husband and wife duo. They've directed and produced The Clark Sisters, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, Chicago PD, and Christine, the beautifully well-written story of Fannie Lou Hamer. You have Mike Brown, who was the first Black leprechaun on campus, and he is currently employed at the University of Notre Dame and has written 2 children's books that are just fantastic. And so, he was our first. You have Nicole Hannah-Jones, Dr. Nicole Hannah-Jones, who was Pulitzer Prize winning author and author of the 1619 Project. And you have Jerome the Bus Bettis, who is a Hall of Famer, was in my class, and very proud of all of them. And there are so many more Black alumni of Notre Dame. Some you probably wouldn't even know went to the university, because we're out doing just fantastic things, making a difference in the world. And you could be part of this Hall of Fame. That's one of the things about the university, is that you're going there to learn, to give, and you will be a contributing member somehow within the field of study and the passion that you love. So I want to just leave you with these additional pieces of information. I put it in the Facebook chat. It's educating the body, the mind, the body, and spirit. It's an overview, a little bit more in depth of what I just shared with some of the statistics. And there's a financial aid how-to guide. So take a look at that online. Again, it's inside the Facebook chat. And then finally, I just want to give our contact information. So again, I'm Kendra Washington Bass. I serve on the Black Alumni of Notre Dame board as the student recruitment director, volunteering. Like, I don't work for the university. So all of what I'm doing every Wednesday is part of my volunteer, because I care and I want to make sure that we're giving the right information. And you have a face to a graduate who has benefited from the education I received at the University of Notre Dame. There is my information. You also have Dontavius Seaborn. He's a senior associate director of diversity, inclusion, and outreach. In fact, I think the ticker that is going across is blocking our actual information. So let me do that. There we go. So now you can see our email addresses. So you can reach me at ba.recruitment@alumni.nd.edu, or you can reach out to Dontavius Seaborn. Like, he works for the university. And in fact, we had a great conversation earlier this week. So he is willing to be able to work with you, answer questions you have about the application process, and put you in direct contact with someone in financial aid without having to go through a computer that moves you all around. So he is D. Seaborn at nd.edu. And finally, I just want to say thank you. Specifically, thank you to the Black alumni of Notre Dame, to our constituents who every day show up as themselves, who are doing fantastic things in the world, making a great difference and making Notre Dame proud. Thank you for your contribution to the Fraser Thompson Scholarship. We're looking for continued contribution to help support our prospective Black students who are we want to fund their education, and those who are on campus. Thank you for opening your homes and welcoming those students who are accepted. So that's one thing that we do. We welcome you. If you're accepted, we call you and we congratulate you. You get connected to us right away. And we're trying to make that connection even before you apply, so you know that you're going to be part of a very important family. And that's what we want to do. So thank you for listening. Thank you for your patience as the first 7:30 to 8 o'clock didn't produce any sound. So thanks for sticking in with me today. And again, I am Kendra Washington Bass. I'm so happy that you joined me this evening, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Now, next week, Wednesday, we're going to have a special guest. I'm going to have Mr. Mike Pippinger, who is the Senior Vice President of International Student Relations. And we're going to talk about the benefits of studying abroad. Just a couple of statistics just to have you thinking so you can join next week. Many students of color do not participate in the study abroad programs. And he's going to talk about what could be some of the barriers to that and what Notre Dame is doing in order to increase that. Black Alumni is here to support those students. Again, Fraser Thompson Scholarship could be one of the areas that can help support fund that, plus sponsorships from some of our wonderful alumni to be able to make that happen. So we're going to talk about some of the barriers, but also what are the benefits of doing that and how long are some of them? Some of them are small and short. Some of them could be a whole semester, from Japan to right in our backyard in Silicon Valley. So Mike is going to share some of those wonderful, unique aspects of participating in a study abroad or international program, and especially for this newer generation who are going to be our global citizens. So please meet me back here next week, Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Now, some of you, let me know if that time is just not working for you on the West Coast, because that's a little bit earlier, but hopefully you can bring students, you can bring your kids, alumni, you can just show up and say hello and just be present. So thank you so much. It was good to see you all this evening. Have a good one, and I'll see you next week.